Right-Ho Jeeves by P.G. Wodehouse. Chapter 1, Part 2. Amused once more, Gussie and I, as I say, had rather lost touch. But all the same, I was exercised about the poor fish, as I am about all my pals, close or distant, who find themselves treading upon life's banana skins. It seemed to me that he was up against it. I threw my mind back to the last time I had seen him. About 2 years ago it had been. I had looked in at his place while on a motor trip, and he had put me right off my feed by bringing a couple of green things with legs to the luncheon table, crooning over them like a young mother, and eventually losing one of them in the salad. That picture rising before my eyes didn't give me much confidence in the unfortunate goof's ability to woo and win, I must say. Especially if the girl he had earmarked was one of these tough modern thugs, all lipstick and cool, hard, sardonic eyes, as she probably was. "Tell me, Jeeves," I said, wishing to know the worst, "what sort of a girl is this girl of Gussie's?" "I have not met the young lady, sir. Mr. Finknottle speaks highly of her attractions." "Seemed to like her, did he?" "Yes, sir." "Did he mention her name? Perhaps I know her." "She is a Miss Bassett, sir. Miss Madeline Bassett." "What?" "Yes, sir." I was deeply intrigued. "Egad, Jeeves, fancy that. It's a small world, isn't it, what?" "The young lady is an acquaintance of yours, sir?" "I know her well. Your news has relieved my mind, Jeeves. It makes the whole thing begin to seem far more like a practical working proposition." "Indeed, sir." "Absolutely. I confess that until you supplied this information, I was feeling profoundly dubious about poor old Gussie's chances of inducing any spinster of any parish to join him in the saunter down the aisle. You will agree with me that he is not everybody's money." "There may be something in what you say, sir." "Cleopatra wouldn't have liked him." "Possibly not, sir." "And I doubt if he would go any too well with Tallulah Bankhead." "No, sir." "But when you tell me that the object of his affections is Miss Bassett, why then, Jeeves, hope begins to dawn a bit. He's just the sort of chap a girl like Madeline Bassett might scoop in with relish." This Bassett, I must explain, had been a fellow visitor of ours at Cannes, and as she and Angela had struck up one of those effervescent friendships which girls do strike up, I had seen quite a bit of her. Indeed, in my moodier moments, it sometimes seemed to me that I could not move a step without stubbing my toe on the woman. And what made it all so painful and distressing was that the more we met, the less did I seem able to find to say to her. You know how it is with some girls. They seem to take the stuffing right out of you. I mean to say, there is something about their personality that paralyzes the vocal cords and reduces the contents of the brain to cauliflower. It was like that with this Bassett and me. So much so that I have known occasions when for minutes at a stretch Bertram Wooster might have been observed fumbling with the tie, shuffling the feet, and behaving in all other respects in her presence like the complete dumb brick. When therefore she took her departure some 2 weeks before we did, you may readily imagine that, in Bertram's opinion, it was not a day too soon. It was not her beauty, mark you, that thus numbed me. She was a pretty enough girl in a droopy, blonde, saucer-eyed way, but not the sort of breath-taker that takes the breath. No, what caused this disintegration in a usually fairly fluent prattler with the sex was her whole mental attitude. I don't want to wrong anybody, so I won't go so far as to say that she actually wrote poetry. But her conversation, to my mind, was of a nature calculated to excite the liveliest suspicions. Well, I mean to say, when a girl suddenly asks you out of a blue sky if you don't sometimes feel like that the stars are God's daisy chain, you begin to think of it. As regards the fusing of her soul and mine, therefore, there was nothing doing. But with Gussie, the posture was entirely different. The thing that had stymied me, viz. That this girl was obviously all loaded down with ideals and sentiment and whatnot, was quite in order as far as he was concerned. Gussie had always been one of those dreamy, soulful birds. You can't shut yourself up in the country and live only for newts if you're not. And I could see no reason why, if he could somehow be induced to get the low, burning words off his chest, he and the Basset shouldn't hit it off like ham and eggs. She's just the type for him, I said. I am most gratified to hear it, sir. And he's just the type for her. In fine, a good thing, and one to be pushed along with the utmost energy. Strain every nerve, Jeeves. Very good, sir, replied the honest fellow. I will attend to the matter at once. Now, up to this point, as you will doubtless agree, what you might call a perfect harmony had prevailed. Friendly gossip between employer and employed, and everything as sweet as a nut. But at this juncture, I regret to say, there was an unpleasant switch. The atmosphere suddenly changed, the storm clouds began to gather, and before we knew where we were, the jarring note had come bounding on the scene. I have known this to happen before in the Wooster home. The first intimation I had that things were about to hot up was a pained and disapproving cough from the neighborhood of the carpet. For during the above exchanges, I should explain, while I, having dried the frame, had been dressing in a leisurely manner, donning here a sock, there a shoe, and gradually climbing into the vest, the shirt, the tie, and the knee-length, Jeeves had been down on the lower level, unpacking my effects. He now rose, holding a white object. And at the sight of it, I realized that another of our domestic crises had arrived, another of those unfortunate clashes of will between two strong men, and that Bertram, unless he remembered his fighting ancestors and stood up for his rights, was about to be put upon. I don't know if you were at Cannes this summer. If you were, you will recall that anybody with any pretensions to being the life and soul of the party was accustomed to attend binges at the casino in the ordinary evening wear trousings, topped to the north by a white mess jacket with brass buttons. And ever since I had stepped aboard the blue train at Cannes station, I had been wondering, on and off, how mine would go with Jeeves. In the matter of evening costume, you see, Jeeves is hidebound and reactionary. I had had trouble with him before about soft-bosomed shirts. And while these mess jackets had, as I say, been all the rage, I had never concealed it from myself, even when treading the measure at the Palm Beach Casino, in the one I had hastened to buy, that there might be something of an upheaval about it on my return. I prepared to be firm. Yes, Jeeves, I said, and though my voice was suave, a close observer in a position to watch my eyes would have noticed a steely glint. Nobody has a greater respect for Jeeves' intellect than I have, but this disposition of his to dictate to the hand that fed him had got, I felt, to be checked. This mess jacket was very near to my heart, and I jolly well intended to fight for it with all the vim of grand old Sir de Wooster at the Battle of Agincourt. Yes, Jeeves, I said, something on your mind, Jeeves. I fear that you have inadvertently left Cannes in the possession of a coat belonging to some other gentleman, sir. I switched on the Steely a bit more. No, Jeeves, I said in a level tone. The object under advisement is mine. I bought it out there. You wore it, sir. Every night. But surely you're not proposing to wear it in England, sir. I saw that we had arrived at the nub. Yes, Jeeves. But, sir, you were saying, Jeeves? It is quite unsuitable, sir. I do not agree with you, Jeeves. I anticipate a great popular success for this jacket. It is my intention to spring it on the public tomorrow at Pongo Twistleton's birthday party, where I confidently expect it to be one long scream from start to finish. No argument, Jeeves. No discussion. Whatever fantastic objection you may have taken to it, I wear this jacket. Very good, sir. He went on with his unpacking. I said no more on the subject. I had won the victory, and we Woosters do not triumph over a beaten foe. Presently, having completed my toilet, I bade the man a cheery farewell, and in generous mood suggested that, as I was dining out, why didn't he take the evening off and go to some improving picture or something? Sort of olive branch, if you see what I mean. He didn't seem to think much of it. Thank you, sir, I will remain in. I surveyed him narrowly. Is this dudgeon, Jeeves? No, sir. I am obliged to remain on the premises. Mr. Finknottle informed me he would be calling to see me this evening. Oh, Gussie's coming, is he? Well, give him my love. Very good, sir. And a whiskey and soda, and so forth. Very good, sir. Right-ho, Jeeves. I then set off for the drones. At the drones, I ran into Pongo Twistleton, and he talked so much about his forthcoming merrymaking of his, of which good reports had already reached me through my correspondence, that it was nearing 11 when I got home again. And scarcely had I opened the door when I heard voices in the sitting room, and scarcely had I entered the sitting room when I found that these proceeded from Jeeves and what appeared at first sight to be the devil. A closer scrutiny informed me that it was Gussie Finknottle, dressed as Mephistopheles. End of part 2, end of chapter 1.